The United States is a melting pot. It is people from many different races, ethnicities, and cultural backgrounds. This diversity is what has caused constant racial tensions in the country. Racial tensions that have ranged from the Civil War to the Jim Crow law era to today, as we see with the Black Lives Matter movement. Racism makes for a large chunk of America's dark past, and America should feel ashamed of this history. This nation struggles with properly acknowledging its racist history without glorifying it, and people are tired of it. During the last 3 months, almost 200 memorials dedicated to historically racist figures have been taken down by protesters and the government. Currently, the nation is undergoing a tremendous revolution because of the Black Lives Matter movement. This movement is trying to bring attention to police brutality towards minorities. To do this, Americans have to look at the root of the problem, which is systemic racism, rooted in the country's racist past, which still lives on today. How can a nation evolve from its racist past when it still glorifies racists through statues and work of art? Racist historical figures must be removed because they glorify the controversial and painful history of the United States. In this speech, I will talk about 3 main reasons why racist monuments should be taken down. I would like to begin by talking about the first point, which is the monuments help glamorize America's past. First, let's discuss how. These statues place racists who were on the wrong side of history on pedestals. Monuments are about values we want to publicly honor. These statues represent values our nation no longer wants to uphold, and if anything, it harmfully represents that racists still have the upper hand and should be admired. Other countries, like Germany, are ashamed of their past and try to have their citizens learn from it rather than be proud of it. As reported in The Atlantic by Susan Neiman, Germany has no monuments that celebrate the Nazi armed forces. However, many grandfathers fought or fell for them. Instead, it has a dizzying number and variety of monuments to the victims of its murderous racism. Many of these statues were originally set up to intimidate and demean the Black community. Memorials for historical figures such as slave-owning presidents or imperialists like Christopher Columbus promote oppressive messages which tear down modern progress for minorities. Now, secondly, I'd like to discuss what can be done with the empty space after a statue is removed. It could be replaced by a memorial honoring a progressive civil rights hero who fought for equality in our nation, or a Black inventor, or we can have a Black artist set up art in place of the old monument. According to Ashley D. Stevens on her July 2020 article, she mentions of about 5,193 public statues of people in the United States, only 394 are of women, and far fewer are of Black Americans or other people of color. There is a lack of representation for minorities in monuments, and there are many people of color who can better represent the current heroes of America, such as George Washington Carver, Garrett Morgan, I.W. Wells, and Booker T. Washington. This situation can also be an opportunity to hire people of color who are artists to make their own art in place of these racist monuments. Giving a Black artist a public platform where they can showcase their talent and brilliance can help alleviate the pain and turmoil of the past statues, which had brought pain to these communities. Now, lastly, where should these monuments go? They shouldn't be destroyed or vandalized. Instead, they should be placed in museums. Many people think simply destroying these statues, vandalizing them, or putting them away in storage is the right choice. But this would simply be an act of performative activism with no real change. According to Jonathan Zimmerman on an article for The Inquirer, if we simply put them out of sight, they'll eventually be out of mind. The right choice would be to keep these statues in museums or public displays of history, somewhere where proper historical context is provided and the monuments aren't glamorized. Elizabeth Merritt on Are Museums the Rightful Homes for Confederate Monuments claims, a simple label is not enough. In displaying statues, museums will need to be prepared to contextualize them visually and dramatically. Museums cannot hold a neutral position when holding these controversial monuments. They must expose the negative and shameful past of this nation through truthful information. In conclusion, I have explained why these monuments should be removed. how they can be replaced, and where they should be transferred to. It is in America's best interest to remove these shameful statues. I encourage you all to sign petitions on change.org for the removal of these statues and to attend peaceful protesting against these symbols of hate. As you mull over these new ideas and proposals, think to yourself, do I want to take action and be on the right side of history, or completely be in silence and comply with the wrong side of history?